Veteran reggae artist Mad Cobra has been arrested for possession of cocaine and gun. This is Undiluted News. Mikey Bones reporting. Veteran dancehall artist Mad Cobra, whose given name is Ewart Everton Brown, was arrested on Tuesday after deputies in Florence County in South Carolina pulled him over for a traffic stop and discovered 2 kilograms of cocaine in his vehicle, according to the sheriff's office. A release from Florence County Sheriff's Department said that the 55-year-old Brown of Fort Lauderdale in Florida was arrested after deputies initiated a traffic stop on his black BMW SUV for speeding. Once deputies had him stopped, they reported they had reasonable suspicion of criminal activity and asked Brown for consent to search his vehicle. And during the search, the deputies discovered 2 kilograms of cocaine and a 9mm Beretta. Brown was taken into custody and is currently being held at the Florence County Detention Center awaiting a bond hearing. Meanwhile, yesterday afternoon, there were heated arguments in the House of Representatives between opposition leader Mark Golding and Portland Member of Parliament Darrell Vaz regarding remarks made by Mr. Golding on the political platform over the weekend. Mr. Golding has come under fire from Jamaica Labour Party members who accuse him of inciting voting fraud by implying that ballots can be cast on behalf of deceased people. Mr. Vaz demanded an apology from Mr. Golding for his remarks, claiming that the leader of the opposition has no moral authority to get up in this parliament and speak about any issue until he clarifies the statement he made on the political platform. Mr. Golding declined the invitation to apologize. And during the debate, Manchester Member of Parliament Michael Phillips and Deputy House Speaker Juliet Holness exchanged harsh words as well. Mr. Phillips defended the opposition leader, accusing the Deputy House Speaker of permitting statements made during a political gathering to be debated on the floor of Parliament. Mr. Phillips further accused Mr. Vaz of making a misleading remarks about the opposition members supporting his stance on Mr. Golding. The House then devolved into chaos. And what Mr. Golding has said was that everyone should go out and vote, alive or dead, for the PNP this election year. And this does not mean that he's saying that people should go and vote for dead people. But of course, the people with thin skin will interpret it another way. The People's National Party has said that it would oppose any move to prolong the tenure of Paula Llewellyn, the Director of Public Prosecutions. According to the PNP, the Andrew Holness-led administration is intended to introduce a bill in Parliament to modify the Constitution to allow for a further extension of the DPP's mandate. According to PNP President Mark Golding, the government's approach raises major concern about democratic governance and constitutional reform principle. He said any attempt to extend the DPP's term will result in a lawsuit. Meanwhile, triggerman Dwight Bingham has been sentenced to 45 years in jail for killing Andrea Lowe Garwood as she worshipped in church in Trelawney in January of 2021. And the sentence was handed down in the Trelawney Circuit Court yesterday, and he will need to serve 30 years before he is eligible for parole. Bingham's sentence is the latest development in a case that sent shockwaves across Jamaica. Last week, Lowe Garwood's stepson Javan Lowe walked free after the prosecution's case crumbled because Bingham refused to testify against him. Leon Hines, the getaway driver who testified against Garwood and Bingham, was previously sentenced to 6 years in prison. And this is the case where this lady was worshipping in church when a gunman sitting behind her shot her in the head, right in church. The Area 2 police are conducting a manhunt for individuals who opened fire on a car carrying a British national and several passengers in St. Mary on Monday. The Jamaican-born Briton and her companions were unharmed. The woman and her friends were traveling down the Three Hill Main Road in Retreat in St. Mary at 1 a.m. when 2 men on a motorcycle intercepted them and pretended to be in an accident further on the road. When the complainant slowed down to inquire, one of the bikers took out a weapon. The woman then sped away and the shooters opened fire, damaging the vehicle. They were successful in evading the armed robbers. Meanwhile, the Independent Commission of Investigations Indicom is looking into the fatal shooting of a cab driver by a police officer in St. Andrew on Monday evening. The shooting occurred at 9 p.m. amid a reported domestic quarrel at a property on Colleyville Avenue in the Kingston 20 neighborhood. Stephen Lee Powell, 29, of Saxville Road in Vineyard Town and Brook Avenue in Kingston 20, is the deceased. Powell's ex-girlfriend and the police constable were said to be at the house on Colleyville Avenue when he entered the yard and banged on the door. According to investigators, he ultimately pushed his way into the house through a window, drew a ratchet knife, and attacked the woman. And it is said in order to protect the woman, the police constable drew his service revolver and fired 9 shots at Powell. The cab driver, who had many bullet wounds, was transported to hospital and was declared dead. Hugh Faulkner, the chairman of Indicom, said he has now taken charge of this matter. Still on Indicom, the Independent Commission of Investigation is probing another fatal shooting by the police. 35-year-old Xavier McLean was shot dead, reported during a confrontation with the police in Portmore, St. Catherine last week. The incident occurred on Friday about 10:45 at Wheatnut Lane in Newlands. An illegal gun with 7 rounds of ammunition was also seized, and it's reported that a police party was on mobile patrol in the area when they came upon a group of men, 2 of whom ran upon seeing the police. The police went in pursuit of the men, who reported they pulled handguns and opened fire at them. And during an exchange of gunfire, one of the men was shot. He was taken to hospital, where he was pronounced dead. Meanwhile, Constable Clayton Williams, who is accused of shooting a man to death in 2017, had his bail extended to return to the Home Circuit Court for plea and case management hearing on November 28. The 45-year-old policeman was charged with murder following an incident on January 12, 2017 in Seaview Gardens. And it's alleged that Shaquille Morris and another man were walking along Pacific Boulevard, Kingston 11, when Williams and another policeman accosted and searched them. And it's further alleged that Constable Williams had his service revolver pointed at Mr. Morris, who stood with his hands in the air and shouted, "Officer, me no have nothing for me clean." And it is said immediately after, the other person heard an explosion and saw Constable Williams take a step back while Mr. Morris fell to the ground. It is said that Constable Williams then reportedly shot Mr. Morris a second time while he was lying on the ground. Mr. Morris was taken to Kingston Public Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. And these stories, boy, them really grievous to listen to. To sports, Bronny James, the eldest son of NBA superstar LeBron James, is said to be in stable condition after suffering a cardiac arrest during a practice with his college basketball team. Bronny James, who is 18 years old, collapsed on court while training with his University of Southern California teammates on Monday in Los Angeles. Medical staff was able to treat Bronny and take him to hospital. He is now in stable condition and is said to be no longer in the intensive care unit. In Women's World Cup today, Japan beat Costa Rica 2-0, while a ruthless Spain clobbered Zambia 5-0. And of course, the Women's World Cup is heating up, and Jamaica is going to be playing this weekend, so everybody is going to be waiting for that game. And if you ever missed the news on this radio station, please go to YouTube, type in Jamaican Undiluted News, listen, like, share, and subscribe to keep it going. My name is Mikey Bones. I gone.